Thank you very much indeed, Mr Deputy Speaker. I'm delighted to be called to speak in this debate and reiterate the congratulations to my honourable friend, the member for Rutland and Melton, for securing it. Much of what I will say in the next few minutes will reflect what I heard yesterday at the parliamentary conference in the OTs, because in the absence of any formal representation of the OTs in this House, of which we've heard much, I believe that today is an opportunity for them to have their voices heard through the medium of honourable and right honourable members. And on a personal level, I've long supported the OTs, as evidenced by my membership or vice-chairmanship of several of the relevant ABPGs, as evidenced equally by the tie from the Falkland Islands that I was gifted when I was there in February. Mr Deputy Speaker, the word that has resonated loudest this week in the various events for the OTs has been family. The OTs are members of the British family, and as in any family, each member has its own characteristics, its own strengths and weaknesses, its own identity, its own uniqueness. It was put far more eloquently than I can yesterday by Gibraltar's Environment Minister, who said simply, "There is superpower in our diversity." But like any family, each member will need support at different times of their life. And as one minister suggested yesterday, there has been a feeling that the OTs have sometimes been victims of a situation where others try to define their problems, others try to find solutions for them, whereas they need and want to do it for themselves with the support that is offered and available, but not imposed. For many of the overseas territories, there are, of course, shared challenges, shared threats. There are others that are individual. We've heard a good deal about the shared threat from climate change, which in some cases is existential. But not all challenges are common, and I've been particularly struck this week by the experience of two territories in particular, Turks and Caicos and Pitcairn, for very different reasons. As the Premier of Turks and Caicos put it, his people live perilously close to the failed state that is Haiti. Other honourable members have touched on this already this afternoon, particularly the illegal immigration into Turks and Caicos that is rife and is exacerbated by drug running and gun running. Now, the authorities there are working extremely hard to protect their islands from the waves of uncontrolled numbers of people flooding their homeland, but I do hope that the government here will offer help that can be taken up if that is so desired. The risks to Pitcairn are entirely different, but just as severe. With a current population of only 36 people, there are serious questions about the long-term viability of the islands. Sadly, the school has just closed because there are no young children left on Pitcairn. There are very few people of working age. The population is ageing. Pitcairn's mayor talked to me of the recognition of the need to adapt to survive. His hope, and that of other islanders, is that more people will see the opportunity of a life in Pitcairn. What I think struck me as particularly vivid yesterday was when he remarked that as one person from that population of Pitcairn who is in the United Kingdom, more than 2.5% of the population are here. That is how small the population is. But in talking about challenges, Mr Deputy Speaker, I recognise we must be careful not to imply in any way that the OTs are helpless dependents. The truth is very different, as they are all very, very clear, rightly to point out. And to take just one example that was made to me yesterday, according to analysis by Capital Economics, the British Virgin Islands support jobs, prosperity and government revenues worldwide, especially as a result of their role as a centre for financial and professional service firms. Now, having covered a considerable amount of the globe in the last couple of minutes, I'd like to say a little bit about the Falkland Islands. It was absolutely right that Margaret Thatcher, as Prime Minister, sent a task force to liberate the islands in 1982, just as it remains absolutely right today that we maintain a strong military presence to defend the right of islanders to self-determination. And during the trip with the Armed Forces Parliamentary Scheme in February, we saw how all three services of our armed forces each play crucial roles, both separately and working together. There are now new threats, though, Mr Deputy Speaker, to the Falkland Islands. Fisheries account for approximately 40% of their GDP, but are under threat particularly by the illegal fishing by Chinese super trawlers just outside Falkland's territorial waters. So it is important the Falkland Islands economy diversify. And one potential solution is the extraction of oil. Now, of course, that must be done extremely carefully, given our commitment to net zero, but I would very much hope that the Treasury will give the proposals that are currently in front of them, known as Project Sea Lion, extremely serious consideration. I will indeed.
Would my honourable friend also share with me the concerns the Argentinian government's current rhetoric to Falklands, funnily enough, falls in an election year? And is it not utterly abhorrent that a politician would use the rights of individuals to determine their own futures for their own political gain?
As in pretty much everything else she has said this afternoon, my right friend is absolutely on the money. She is completely correct. And the way the Argentinians have behaved in this election year, as she rightly points out, is truly outrageous and incredibly offensive to the people of the Falkland Islands. And I know from talking to their representative over the past couple of days, the Falkland Islanders are very grateful that we have recognised that in this place in recent weeks. To conclude, Mr Deputy Speaker, the OTs afford us a tremendous global footprint of strategic and economic significance. Gibraltar's minister rightly remarked that through and thanks to the OTs, for many years we have already had global Britain. And let us not forget there are plenty of hostile nations who are looking for new friends, especially in strategic locations. So we should not take our traditional allies for granted. Let us be clear, as the Premier of the BVI pointed out, that even in smallness there is opportunity. It was the Mayor of the smallest OT, Pitcairn, who summed it up perfectly, Mr Deputy Speaker. The overseas territories matter because they are British, because they are part of our family.